I'm so fond of the Harlan Ellison episode just because it was a chance to meet him and work with him. Um, and he was nothing but generous and kind and nice to me. He had me over to his house after the show had been recorded. He wanted me to sign his copy of the script. And I had taken a picture with him, and he wanted a copy of that. And I wanted to get a book that he had written signed, and so he signed that. And I don't know how much you've heard about Harlan. He had the most incredible house here in Los Angeles that you've ever seen. And it was called Ellison Wonderland, and it was enormous. It was the kind of house that he just kept building onto. So it was just a sprawling thing, and every single surface was lined with books. There were books everywhere, bookshelves everywhere, books on the floor, books in stacks, books in piles, books tossed around, incredible art on the walls, photos, and just stories. And you could listen to him tell stories about his life forever. So the fact that the show led to that afternoon at Harlan's house makes that an incredibly special experience to me, and one that I'll never forget. But when we recorded his episode, Mitch was kind enough to let me sit in. I didn't have any role there except if they needed to tweak a line once in a while. They might ask me for an idea. But Harlan was in the recording booth with the rest of the regular cast. And I'm not telling any stories out of school here. Anybody who knows anything about Harlan knows this is true. And Harlan was attracting a lot of gravity in the room. Everything was sort of around Harlan, which is understandable. And he was at the point where he was not only rewriting his own lines, but he was telling the actors how they should say their line. And so we came to a break point, and Harlan requested to go to the restroom. And the voice director and Mitch and everybody in the room sort of turned to me and said, "Keep Harlan out in the hall so we can get some work done." And then when the sign goes off, the on-air sign or whatever recording sign goes off, he can come back in. But keep him out there and chat with him so that we can actually get the script recorded without all the interruptions. And I said, okay. And I stepped out into the hall, and Harlan came back from the bathroom, and I started asking him about writing comics, the comics that he had written for before. Talked to him about Star Trek because he wrote a legendary episode, or he's credited with writing a legendary episode of the series. There was a whole big lawsuit about that. And once you engage Harlan in conversation, it's hard to get him to stop. And so we talked for about 45 minutes, just standing out in the hall. And then he said, "Shouldn't I be in there recording?" And I said, "Oh yeah." So he went back in, and of course they had done the recording of the rest of the script, and Harlan finished his work, and everybody went their separate ways. But the chance to stand out in the hall with Harlan and chat with him for the first time was really cool.